The Secret River by Kate Grenville. Background and Character Analysis Part 1. Catherine Elizabeth Grenville. Catherine Elizabeth Grenville, simply called as Kate Grenville, is an Australian author. Born in Sydney in 1950, she has published 15 books including fiction, non-fiction, biography and books about writing process. Grenville grew up in a house filled with books. Inspired by her father's gift for storytelling, she published her first literary work, a collection of short stories entitled The Burdell Ladies, in the year 1984. She has written 9 novels, and her first novel, Lillian's Story, published in the year 1985, gained her reputation worldwide. Grenville also has won the Orange Prize for the novel The Idea of Perfection in the year 2001. Her other best-known novels are Dream House, Joan Makes History, a novel, Dark Places, and her recent novel published in the year 2020, A Room Made of Leaves. It is interesting to be noted that her novels have been translated into many languages and have been adapted into feature films. About the novel The Secret River. Published in 2005, The Secret River is the first book in Colonial trilogy. The other novels in the trilogy include Lieutenant, published in the year 2008, Sarah Thornhill, published in the year 2011, and this Sarah Thornhill is considered to be the sequel to The Secret River. The novel The Secret River has won the Commonwealth Writers' Prize in the year 2006. It was also shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize and Miles Franklin Literary Award in the year 2006. The Secret River is a historical novel about a 19th century Englishman transported or exiled or banished to Australia for theft. The dedication part of the novel, The Secret River. It is important to note the novel is dedicated to the Aboriginal people of Australia. Aboriginal people of past, present, but also the future Aboriginal people who are going to live in Australia. Location. The location of the novel is not stick to one place. It shifts between Australia and London. The novel is mostly set on the Hawkesbury River located in the state of New South Wales in Australia. New South Wales state capital is Sydney, which is the most populous city in Australia. Some part of the novel also revolves around River Thames in London. Thames is the longest river in London. Thornhill's Point. Thornhill's Point is the place in Australia named by the protagonist of the novel. Background to the novel The Secret River. The novel was inspired by Grenville's desire to understand the history of her ancestor Solomon Wiseman, who settled on the Hawkesbury River. Solomon Wiseman serves as the model for William Thornhill, the protagonist of the novel. Solomon Wiseman was a lighterman on the Thames in London. Who is called a lighterman? Someone who transports goods by boat. However, Solomon Wiseman was arrested and banished for stealing valuable timber. Drawing on the life of Solomon Wiseman, Grenville tells a sweeping story of a man determined to shed his past and build a new life for his family in the New South Wales state of Australia. There are more than 25 characters in the novel. Let's see it one by one. The first one is the protagonist of the novel, William Thornhill. William Thornhill grows up among the poverty of the South End of London. William finishes his apprenticeship under Mr. Middleton. Apprenticeship? Yes, a person who is learning a trade from a skilled employer, having agreed to work for a fixed period at low wages. William marries Mr. Middleton's daughter Sal and works as a waterman on the Thames. Waterman? Yes. A waterman is a river worker who transfers passengers across to river and city. After the death of Sal's parents, he is caught trying to steal Brazil wood and sentenced to death by hanging. However, due to his wife's effort, his sentence or his punishment to death is reduced to banishment to Australia. Banishment is the punishment of being sent away from a country to another country. Sarah Thornhill. She is the daughter of Mr. Middleton and wife of William Thornhill. Zal falls in love with William when they are still children and wandering the dirty streets of Southend. Zal marries William at the end of his apprenticeship and gives birth to her first child, Willie. Upon their arrival in Australia, Zal continues to support William and help him build a new life for their growing family. She longs for the familiar streets of London and wants to earn enough money to return to London and live in comfort. Zal bears William 6 children. Who are they? Let's see in the coming slides. There are 5 siblings of William Thornhill: Mattie Thornhill, James Thornhill, Rob Thornhill, Mary and Lizzie Thornhill. Let's see them briefly one by one. Brothers of William Thornhill. Mattie, James and Rob are brothers of William Thornhill. Mattie Thornhill. He is William's older brother. He becomes a sailor, leaving William to support the family after the death of their parents. James Thornhill. Another William's older brother. As children, James and William stole books and other items in order to help support the family. He leaves home at 14 and never returns. Rob Thornhill. William's another older brother. Rob was mentally impaired by a fever at the age of 5. As a child, he hangs around James and William, helping them steal. When the hardship descends the family, William involves Rob in his plan to steal the Brazil wood. When they are caught, Rob jumps overboard and drowns in the river Thames. William's sisters. Mary Thornhill. She is William's older sister. She is largely responsible for running the household. Lizzie Thornhill. William's another older sister. Lizzie is in charge of the younger siblings in the family. William feels fondly towards her as he remembers being carried around on her hip as a baby. She takes in swing to help support the family. The Middletons. Mr. Middleton. Mr. Middleton is the father of Zal. Mr. Middleton is a waterman who achieved a level of financial security for his family. His house is on Swan Land. It represents the security that William craves. After his wife suffers of miscarriages, Mr. Middleton realizes that he will not have a son to carry on his business. So he offers William an apprenticeship and saves the family from starvation. When his wife falls ill during the fateful frost, Mr. Middleton spends all his savings on doctors and medication. He too eventually dies of fever. Frost, you all know, the process of freezing due to snowfall, and it frequently happens in London. Mrs. Middleton, Zal's mother. She is a kind soul whose life is tempered by grief for the children due to her miscarriages. Her illness during the frost eats up all the Middleton savings. She dies soon after Mr. Middleton passed away. Childhood friends of William Thornhill. The first one is Collarbone. He is William's childhood friend. As a boy, Collarbone roams with William looking for things to steal. One night while stealing, he is caught with a brandy and sentenced to death by hanging. William collects money from the neighborhood to bribe the executioner to give Collarbone a quick death. Despite the bribe, Collarbone does not die right away. Instead, he slowly suffocates in the noose. Dan Oldfield. He is another William's childhood friend. Dan is a member of William's gang of boys in Southwark. Unexpectedly, Dan and William meet again in Australia when William arrives to pick up 2 recently arrived convicts to help on his land. Although Dan is initially happy to see William, he soon learns that childhood friendship cannot overcome the iniquity of their present positions. William rather takes the position of master and uses his power over Dan. William's employers. Mr. Lucas. He is William's employer in London. William works as a lighterman for Mr. Lucas until he is caught trying to steal Brazil wood. It is Mr. Lucas' testimony against William in court contributes to the original sentence of death by hanging. Mr. King. He is William's employer in Sydney. William works as a lighterman for Mr. King, transporting rum, gin and brandy. Mr. King loans William the money to buy Thomas Blackwood's boat. With the help of Mr. King, William builds a ship that ensures his position as a wealthy colonist in New South Wales. One should not confuse the characters of white settlers with Aboriginal characters. So the white settlers' characters are Thomas Blackwood, Smasher Sullivan, Sagitty Bills, Webb, Laude, Mrs. Herring, and Ned. The Aboriginal characters are Scabby Bill, Whisker Harry, and Long Jack. As these characters play important roles in the novel, let's discuss them briefly. Thomas Blackwood. He is a former convict or a prisoner who was found guilty of a criminal offence. He is now settled in Sydney. He runs a thriving trade, buying and selling goods between the settlement in Sydney and Hawkesbury River. He hires William as second mate on his boat when William leaves Mr. King. He is an important character to be noted. Though a white man, Blackwood has the greatest appreciation and knowledge of the Aborigines and their culture. He is the only character who respects Aborigines' claim to the land and learns to live in harmony with them. His concept in life is that to give a little and take a little. He also speaks the local Aboriginal language and lives with an Aboriginal woman with whom he has a child. Smasher Sullivan, one of the settlers, and has a profound or deep hatred for the Aborigines. He believes them to be little more than savages and frequently kills them when Aborigines approach his farm. He kidnaps Aboriginal women and keeps them as sex slaves. He is just the opposite of Blackwood, and Blackwood refuses to accept Sullivan's wishes or bad treatment of the Aborigines. Sagitty Bills. He shares Sullivan's view of the Aborigines and participates in the sexual abuse of Aboriginal women. He is killed after a raid on his farm by Aborigines, and William finds Sagitty with a spear through his stomach. It is actually his death that leads to the battle between the white settlers and the Aborigines. The next character is Webb. He is also known as Spider. He is one of the settlers on the Hawkesbury River. While Webb is away from his farm, the Aborigines steal his crop. The other minor characters of the white settlers are Laude and Mrs. Herring. Mrs. Herring is a widow who serves as a midwife and nurse to the other settlers. And Ned is a convict who works under William. He believes the Aborigines to be savages. The Aboriginal characters are important as well, like the white settlers. Scabby Bill. He is an Aborigine who lives in the Sydney settlement. He frequently begs outside William and Zal's hut, and Zal gives him food and drink to make him live. Scabby Bill's drunkenness and refusal to wear clothes reinforces or stresses the settlers' view of the Aborigines as savages. The next character is Whisker Harry. He is the elder of the Aboriginal clan or group. He is an older man who has disagreement with William over his claim to their land. It is important to note, during the battle between the settlers and the Aborigines, Whisker Harry throws the spear that kills Smasher Sullivan. Long Jack, a member of the Aboriginal clan. It is he who teaches Dick Thornhill, the second of William's son, to make a fire using 2 sticks and how to throw a spear. In the battle between the settlers and the Aborigines, Long Jack takes a bullet to the side of his head. He survives after that and returns regularly to Thornhill's Point to claim the land as his own. There are 6 children for William and Zal Thornhill, 4 sons and 2 daughters. Willie Thornhill. He is William and Zal's oldest child. Born in London, Willie arrives in Australia when he is 5 years old. He works with his father after they buy Blackwood's boat, trading up and down the river. Dick Thornhill, William's second son. Along with Blackwood, Dick understands the Aborigines are a part of the land and appreciates their skills and their way of life. Dick explores the forest and the river at the Thornhill's Point. He rejects his father's claim to the ownership and domination of the land. Pup Thornhill, he is William's third son. Born in the settlement at Sydney, Pup is a weak and fuzzy child. William does not expect him to survive, however his health improves at the Thornhill's Point. The fourth son is Johnny Thornhill and his 2 daughters are Mary and little Sarah.